You are ready to start the narrative essay. Go ahead and click on Module 5 Narrative Essay. Read the content there. A narrative essay is really less pressure than a researched essay because you're not having to research anything. This is just about you and what you know about your personal life story. So you're telling about a real event that happened to you. Um, you don't need to tell your entire life story, just one significant event that taught you something about yourself, about resilience, about life, maybe about other people. So you can see some suggestions for writing prompts here. Um, be sure to use descriptive language, watch the videos. Now, when you are just writing a draft, it might be that you don't want to mess with adding descriptive language at that point. Really get the content down, what happened first, then next, and what was the big turning point or the thing that really taught you a lesson, and then the falling action is what happened after that big turning point, and then the resolution. So what I'm talking about here is known as Freytag's pyramid for plot structure. Um, there's not any hard and fast rule about this. You can, I don't know what this little screen thing is. But anyway, let's look here. You can take a look at Freytag's pyramid if you want to, and that can help guide you. So Freytag's pyramid for plot structure is really just the basic way anybody telling a story is going to tell a story, whether it's a true story or a work of fiction. Fiction is not true. Nonfiction is true. Sometimes that gets confusing. So your story is nonfiction. It is true. So you're going to start with an exposition, which is just a fancy word for what's the setting? Who's the story about? So where are we? How old are you maybe? Who's around you? That sort of thing. It was a dark and stormy night is one bit of exposition. That kind of sets a tone and also tells kind of a little bit about the setting. Then the rising action. There can be several little events that lead to the climax. And really, oftentimes, the rising action will be the longest part of the story. So, an inciting incident is usually that first little bit of the rising action, so that first event, and then your events may go up and down like this and rise a little bit. So, nothing in life is really linear. Nothing follows a straight line. We're all kind of living a zigzag kind of life. So tell the story that leads to that ultimate aha moment that, oh, if I keep doing this thing I don't want is going to keep happening. Or, if I keep being in this situation, then I'm not getting what I want for whatever reason. You're not the person you want to be, or whatever your prompt leads you to as far as the rising action, those little lessons that lead to that big lesson. That aha moment is the climax. The falling action can be very, very short. So this graph is not really a good representation of the time you might spend on rising action, which will be a lot. Climax is that sort of blink aha moment, and then the falling action can be, very short. It could be like, oh, and then I realized this, so I moved to another state and started over, or whatever it happens to be. Or I decided to go to college and pursue my goal of whatever your goal is. And then denouement is resolution. It's a French word for resolution. So how did this resolve? And if you're writing about something like a career choice or an educational step toward a career choice, then you may not have something you feel is the clear resolution, but you have where you are now. and how you may be doing things differently than you did before you made that big climactic decision that came from this aha moment. So that's what I'm looking for in the narrative essay. So after you have done all the plot structuring things and gotten, the content that you want down on paper, then you can go back and add some descriptive language. And this video is a good one to demonstrate how you might do that and the difference between telling something and showing something. This video tells you all about how valuable storytelling can be. So how people's brains change for the better or for the worse when they're hearing a story. So writing narrative is good practice for telling your personal story, which you can use in any career you have because you're going to be dealing with people. And you want to be able to share stories that inspire people to do better things or what you would like them to do, to calm them down. If you're in the medical field, you're going to have a lot of stressed out people, so you'll want to tell them stories that can relate to them in a way that calms them down, helps them pay more attention so that they can help participate in their own healing in any way possible, even just cooperating with what you're trying to do to help them. Also in the financial sector, so if you are dealing with money, that's a stressful thing. And if you can share stories, your personal story with someone in that capacity, that can be super helpful. Legal situations, if you're in criminal justice, being able to share stories is important. Even in job interviews, you're going to have stories. They're going to ask you, what's your story, basically. So this is good practice for that. All right, so pronouns. You get to use I, me, we, us, all these first person pronouns because it is a narrative essay. It is really your story. So tell your story in first person. That's not normal for academic essays when you're doing research, but this is no research, so no quote burger colors. So there should be no works cited. It's just you telling your story. That means you get to use first person because it's weird to talk about yourself in any other perspective than first person. If you talk about yourself in third person, it's a little weird. Write in past tense. It just makes more sense to write in past tense. I think sometimes when I read narrative essays in present tense, it sounds very contrived and a little, I don't know, it's just a little weird. Sometimes people can do it and do it well, but it's rare. So I really, really recommend you just stick with past tense. Something that really happened to you in the past is easier to tell in past tense, and it makes more sense. All right, how long should the essay be? At least 2 pages and at least 5 paragraphs. So no college level essay should be one long paragraph, of course. You know this. Chunk your information into paragraphs that make sense. If you use dialogue, and you're not required to use dialogue, but you might choose to, if you choose to, then you should use dialogue in a new paragraph every time you change speakers. So every time there's a new speaker, change paragraphs. Should your essay, or can your essay be longer than 2 pages? Yes, it can be as long as you like. After 2 pages, I may not be able to read, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 pages of every student. So make sure that you are aware that you should use, a length that makes you happy with the story you have to tell. Make sure your best writing is in the first 5 pages, of course, because again, I may not be able to read it all. Here are some demonstrations of how to use dialogue and to change speakers. I'll make sure this is posted on the original page as well. These details are in the link to where you would upload your final revision of the narrative essay. But before you do the final revision, I want you to write a draft and send it to Upswing for some feedback. Give them a full 72 hours to get you your feedback. And then once you've gotten your feedback, you can upload your draft with the feedback and your 2 to 5 sentences. So a good paragraph would be great on how you're going to revise, what you learned from your tutor that will help you revise your writing. Now make sure that that sentence, or not sentence, 2 to 5 sentences, multiple sentences, are grammatically correct and all that sort of thing as well. So so use capitalization and punctuation where it should be. It's good practice for writing on the spot, like you're going to have to in a professional setting when you send emails or make notes for someone. So yeah, upload that. You don't have to revise the draft part when you upload it. Just give me the original draft with the feedback from the tutor. And then you're going to write how you're going to revise. Then the revised part goes here. All right, that's it. Let me know if you have questions.